The same gods who gave mankind writing, agriculture, kingship, temples, calendars, and the first systems of civilization may have also placed a limit inside the human mind. Not a chain around the body, not a prison made of stone, but a controlled boundary between humans and the full knowledge of the gods. The disturbing part is that mankind is not introduced in these traditions as a divine equal. Humans are not presented as free beings who simply appeared in the world and took control of their destiny. They are described as a created labor force, designed to carry the burden the gods no longer wanted to carry themselves. That creates the central problem. A worker species must be intelligent enough to build cities, count grain, manage fields, obey rituals, preserve records, and organize society. But it cannot be so aware that it begins to question the system it was created to serve. This is where the oldest creation stories become dangerous. They do not simply ask how humans were made. They ask why humans were made with limits. Across later traditions, that limit often appears through the symbol of hidden sight, an inner eye, a sealed gate, a point of perception inside the head linked to knowledge beyond ordinary vision. Modern people call it the third eye. Modern anatomy points toward the pineal gland. Mesopotamian myth points to something even older. Humans repeatedly come close to divine knowledge, but the final gift is withheld. Adapa reaches heaven, but loses immortality. Enkidu gains civilization, but loses his wild connection. Mankind receives intelligence, but remains dependent on dreams, omens, priests, rituals, tablets, and divine permission. The pattern is too consistent to ignore. Humans are allowed to build, but not command the source. Humans are allowed to receive knowledge, but only in fragments. Humans are allowed to approach the divine, but never fully become it. So the real question is not whether the gods created humans. The real question is what they prevented humans from becoming. The first hard clue is Atrahasis, an Akkadian creation tradition preserved from around the 18th century BC. In Atrahasis, the gods are not peacefully ruling from heaven. They are working, digging, carrying, maintaining the world, and eventually the lower gods rebel because the labor has become unbearable. The solution is mankind. Humans are created to take over the work. This is the point most people miss. Atrahasis does not frame human creation as a celebration of human greatness. It frames human creation as a labor solution inside a divine system already under pressure. That makes every human ability suspicious. Language is useful because workers need instruction. Counting is useful because grain, fields, and offerings must be measured. Memory is useful because records must survive. Agriculture is useful because the temples must be supplied. Obedience is useful because order must be maintained. But direct access to divine knowledge would not be useful to the system. It would be dangerous. A worker who knows only his task can be controlled. A worker who understands the whole system may begin asking who benefits from the work. That is why the human mind in this mythic logic must be balanced with precision. Enough intelligence to build civilization, not enough access to challenge the powers that created it. The gods do not need mankind to be blind. They only need mankind to see through a narrow window. And once you understand that, the creation story stops being a myth about where humans came from. It becomes a case file about control. The motive is labor. The method is limitation. The evidence is the structure of the stories themselves. But those stories did not survive by accident. They were copied, preserved, and stored in archives that lasted longer than the kingdoms that built them. That is where the next clue appears. The reason we can even ask these questions is because Mesopotamia preserved memory differently from almost every early culture. It wrote on clay. Clay breaks, but clay also survives. Paper rots, leather decays, wood burns. Clay can sit underground for thousands of years and still carry the marks of a dead civilization. In the 19th century, excavations at Nineveh revealed one of the most important archives ever found, the Library of Ashurbanipal. Ashurbanipal ruled Assyria from 668 to 631 BC, and his library preserved more than 30,000 tablets and fragments. These were not only myths, they included medicine, omens, rituals, royal inscriptions, lexical lists, astronomy, flood traditions, creation texts, and older knowledge copied into later forms. That matters because Mesopotamian texts often survive as copies of copies. A 7th century BC tablet may preserve a tradition far older than the tablet itself. The clay can be younger than the memory it carries. By 1876, George Smith had published a form of the Babylonian creation story known as the Enuma Elish after studying tablets from Nineveh. That text revealed a world where creation was tied to conflict, power, order, divine authority, and the arrangement of beings inside a hierarchy. The Enuma Elish is not the same text as Atrahasis, but together they show the same larger pattern. The universe is not random. Gods rule through order, and humans exist inside a system they did not create. That is why these archives matter. They do not only preserve what ancient people believed, they preserve what ancient people were told about themselves. Humans are never placed at the top. They are placed inside a structure. They are created after divine conflict. They are assigned labor. They are surrounded by ritual, omen, priesthood, kingship, and law. Every piece points toward management. If the body was managed through labor, the mind was managed through access. The pineal gland regulates melatonin, and melatonin helps control the sleep-wake cycle. That sounds simple until you remember what sleep meant in the ancient world. Sleep was not just rest. It was one of the oldest gateways in religion. A dream could warn a king, reveal a hidden danger, confirm a divine command, show a future event, or place a human inside a reality the waking mind could not reach. Mesopotamian cultures treated dreams seriously enough that interpretation became part of the larger system of knowledge. The dream itself was not enough. It needed an interpreter. It needed a ritual frame. It needed an authorized reader. The human receives the image, but the system controls the meaning. This same structure appears in omens. A strange moon, a malformed birth, a storm, a disease, a bird's movement, or a mark inside a sacrificed animal could all carry meaning. That makes the deactivated eye idea sharper. Maybe the eye was not completely closed. Maybe it was made unreliable, symbolic, fragmented, difficult to interpret without authority. That would be enough. A controlled channel keeps the mystery alive while making sure the key stays in the hands of the few. And if the hidden eye is a symbol of direct perception, then the ancient world gives us a clear pattern. Humans may still receive signals, but they no longer own the signal. This is where the story crosses into modern controversy. DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, is a powerful psychedelic compound connected to intense, altered states of consciousness. It appears in certain plants used in traditional visionary practices, and it has been studied in modern settings. People who experience strong DMT states often describe images that sound ancient: geometric structures, tunnels, beings, light, impossible architecture, and the feeling of entering a reality beyond ordinary life. Some researchers have explored whether the human body produces small amounts of DMT. The details are still debated: how much, where, when, and for what purpose. Those questions are not settled, and they should not be treated as settled. But the reason DMT became famous is not only chemical, it is experiential. The reports often sound like a modern mirror of ancient vision language: hidden realms, non-human intelligences, inner light, passageways, death-like transitions, realities behind reality. That does not prove that Sumerian gods manipulated the brain. It does not prove that the pineal gland is a literal portal, but it does make one ancient idea harder to dismiss. Human perception may have states that ordinary waking life does not normally access. If ancient people knew that dreams, trance, fasting, darkness, breath, rhythm, and ritual could shift perception, then they knew something practical about consciousness even without modern chemistry. And if humans were created as workers, unrestricted access to those deeper states would be a problem. A labor force that regularly touches the divine source may stop accepting its assigned place. A worker who sees beyond the material task may begin questioning the task itself. So maybe the gods did not need to remove intelligence. They only needed to narrow the bandwidth, keep humans awake enough to work, but asleep enough to forget the source. That is a darker form of control because the most effective prison is not the one you see. It is the one you mistake for normal life. Once you start looking for the hidden eye, the pattern spreads far beyond Mesopotamia. Egypt gives us the Eye of Horus, officially explained as a symbol of protection, healing, restoration, and royal power. That explanation may be correct. Many people have noticed that parts of the Eye of Horus resemble brain structures when viewed from the side. Whether intentional or not, the symbolic overlap is powerful. An eye inside the head, linked to healing, restoration, and divine power. Then there is the pine cone. In Assyrian reliefs, winged divine figures often hold a cone-shaped object, commonly interpreted as part of a purification ritual. In Greek tradition, The thyrsus staff of Dionysus is topped with a pine cone. In Rome, and later in the Vatican, the pine cone becomes a massive sacred image in the court of the pine cone. The safe explanation is fertility, regeneration, life, and sacred power. That may be true, but the shape keeps returning near gods, rituals, and hidden knowledge. The pineal gland is named for its pine cone form. That does not mean every pine cone in ancient art is secretly anatomical. Ancient symbols are rarely that simple. Then there is the third eye in Indian and Buddhist traditions, where the idea becomes direct, a point of inner vision, a center of insight, a way to see beyond surface reality. Different cultures, different languages, same core image, the eye that sees what ordinary eyes cannot. One symbol can be coincidence, two can be influence. But when the eye, the pine cone, the center of the head, dreams, sacred sight, and hidden knowledge keep returning across cultures, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. Maybe ancient civilizations were not all describing the same object. Maybe they were circling the same human question. Is there a hidden faculty inside us? And if there is, why does every system seem to guard it? If the ancient texts describe a human limit, how would that limit be placed? The tablets do not give a medical manual. They do not describe brain surgery or show anatomical diagrams. But they do preserve categories of transformation that ancient people took seriously: food, water, sound, words, ritual, repetition, and divine command. Food and water enter the body every day, which means they can change a population slowly, not through one violent act, but through repetition across time. Ancient people knew substances could purify, poison, bless, curse, strengthen, weaken, heal, and alter the mind. Sound also matters. Mesopotamian ritual was full of spoken power: names, chants, incantations, commands, blessings, bindings, openings, and closings. Words were not treated as empty noise. Words could act. Modern science already accepts that sound and rhythm affect the body. Chanting changes breath. Rhythm changes attention. Vibration can shape matter. Ultrasound can affect tissue. That does not prove ancient sound technology, but it shows why ancient traditions treated words as force rather than decoration. Then there is ritual. Ritual is repetition with meaning. A repeated action trains the body. A repeated story trains the mind. A repeated system trains a civilization. If you tell humans long enough that they were made to serve, they may build the world around service. If you tell them knowledge must come through approved channels, they may stop looking for direct access. That may be the most powerful mechanism of all. Not chemical, not surgical, cultural. The switch may not have been flipped once. It may have been maintained through systems: work, fear, controlled interpretation, ritual dependence, sacred hierarchy, and stories that told humans exactly where their place was. The gods did not need to keep humans blind by force if humans could be trained to accept limited sight as normal. Almost every tradition that speaks of hidden sight also speaks of practices to recover it: meditation, fasting, darkness, silence, breath, prayer, dream work, ritual, sacred sound, isolation, and discipline. None of these are instant. None of them are comfortable. That matters. If there is a deeper human capacity, it is not opened by entertainment, comfort, or distraction. It is opened by attention. Attention is the key, and attention is the one thing modern life constantly steals. The ability to sit still, the ability to dream deeply, the ability to remember, the ability to notice patterns, the ability to listen. The Sumerians built tablets because memory needed protection. Modern humans may need practices because attention needs protection. That is the practical meaning of this mystery. Whether you read the ancient stories literally or symbolically, the pattern is the same. The human being has a hidden capacity. The system narrows it, and the seeker tries to recover it. That is why forbidden knowledge stories repeat everywhere. The fruit, the fire, the tablet, the name, the third eye, the hidden word, the sealed gate, different symbols, same structure. There is something humans are not supposed to have. Someone reaches for it, and the world changes. So maybe the question is not whether every ancient story is literal. Maybe the question is why they keep warning us about the same thing. There is a part of humanity that wants to wake up, and there is always a system trying to keep it asleep. If anyone in Mesopotamian myth stands near the locked gate, it is Enki. Known later as Ea, Enki is the god of wisdom, water, craft, creation, magic, and hidden knowledge. He is not only a creator, he is a problem solver, a trickster, a helper, and a guardian of deep knowledge. Again and again he appears close to humanity. In the Adapa story he gives the instructions. In flood traditions, he warns the human survivor. In creation traditions, he stands near the making of mankind, and he is linked to the Abzu, the deep source beneath the world. That connection is not random. If human access was controlled, Enki is the figure who understands the control system. If humans were limited, Enki knows the limit. If something was sealed, Enki knows where the seal is. He is the god closest to the lock, and possibly closest to the key. This is why Enki is dangerous as a mythic figure. He does not behave like a distant god who only demands worship. He interferes, teaches, warns, protects, bends the rules, and repeatedly appears where divine knowledge touches human survival. If the gods built the lock, Enki is the one who keeps leaving keys behind. That may be the real secret in the Mesopotamian stories. Not simply that humans were created, not simply that humans were limited, but that one god may have disagreed with how far the limit should go. Maybe Enki did not want humans fully trapped. Maybe he left fragments, warnings, dreams, rituals, symbols, stories, access points, enough for humans to survive, and maybe enough for some humans to wake up. That changes the whole question. If the eye was closed, who closed it? If access was restricted, who controlled it? And if Enki knew the system, did he leave a way back in?
Maybe the gods did not turn off a gland. Maybe they sealed a gateway. The physical organ may only be the symbol. The real target may have been access to memory, direct perception, the source of wisdom, and the knowledge of what humans really are. That would explain why the myths keep placing humans near the divine, but never fully inside it. Adapa reaches heaven but loses immortality. Enkidu gains civilization but loses wild connection. Humans are made with intelligence but assigned to labor. Kings receive power but only from above. Priests read signs but do not own the source. Scribes preserve knowledge but only in fragments. Again and again the same pattern appears. Humans approach and the gate closes. Knowledge is given, then controlled. Access is offered, then restricted. The limit is not ignorance, the limit is controlled access. If access was controlled, then the final question is not what was turned off. The final question is where the switch was hidden. The Sumerian answer may point downward, not upward, not into the sky, beneath the first cities, into the Abzu, the hidden deep, the place connected to Enki, where water, wisdom, creation, and forbidden knowledge meet. If something inside humans was sealed, the key may not be in a temple wall, a royal tomb, or a lost throne room. It may be hidden in the oldest stories about the deep, the place where the god of wisdom kept his secrets. If the gods turned something off inside humans, then somewhere in the oldest text there may still be a memory of how it was done. Not written like a modern science manual, but hidden in stories, symbols, warnings, creation myths, flood myths, dreams, rituals, and the strange moments where humans come close to becoming something more, only to be pushed back. Adapa refuses the food of life. Enkidu loses the wild world. The worker is given intelligence but kept mortal. The king receives power but only through divine permission. The scribe preserves memory but only on fragile clay. Again and again the message repeats. Humans were given enough to build civilization, but not enough to control the source. That may be the secret hidden inside the creation story. Not just that humans were made, but that humans were limited. And if the limit was created, maybe it can be undone. Maybe that is why Enki matters so much. He does not behave like a distant god. He behaves like someone who knows the system from the inside, someone who understands the lock, someone who knows where the key was hidden. The god of wisdom, the keeper of the deep, the one who may have left clues behind in the oldest stories ever written. So the question is no longer just what was turned off. The question is, who turned it off, why they did it, and whether the instructions to turn it back on were buried in the same tablets that told us we were made. Next, we follow Enki into the Abzu, the hidden deep beneath the first cities, where the Sumerians connected water, wisdom, creation, and forbidden knowledge. Because if the human mind was sealed, the key may not be above us. It may be beneath the temples, beneath the rivers, beneath the oldest cities on earth, waiting in the place where the god of wisdom kept his secrets. And if Enki left the key behind, then maybe the eye was never meant to stay closed.